Hello, and welcome to the Aftershow for conversations with the Quick Flick Critic. I am your host, John Smithstead. I am back with filmmaker Roberta Pyzel, and we are going to have three questions that I pull, literally just snatch out of thin air, and then pose to Roberta, and she will answer however the heck she wants to answer. First of all, Roberta, thanks for coming back with us to be on the Aftershow with conversations with the Quick Flick Critic. We appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Cool. Well, it's great to have you, and we're kind of continuing our conversation. So we're going to give you three questions. Again, I make them up, and again, I'm not going to ask you Einstein's theory. Break that down.
Oh, good.
I'm not going to ask you, hey, what is the Big Bang Theory? What exactly was going on?
Boom.
They're going to be a little more lighthearted and a little more non-in-depth than that. But these are interesting questions, and I love to just see what people say. So the first question is, you're in New York City. I'm assuming you're a native New Yorker. Is this correct?
Pretty much. Most of my life I've been here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the coolest thing about New York City in your mind and in your heart?
Well, I guess in all my years being here, the coolest thing was that it really used to be, before the rents went crazy and everything's so expensive.
Yeah.
We hate to sound like a sourpuss.
No,
but
you live there. Come on.
It's but years ago, the coolest thing was the amazing artistic diversity and clubs and theaters and music, talking about music. And, it was just, you could just go on and on and on. And in different neighborhoods, it would be filled with clubs, streets with clubs and music. And I would say for me has always been the coolest thing about the city. And unfortunately, that has really, we're in a period of time for a number of decades at this point, or quite a while, where the real estate thing has been building and building to these big companies and whatever. And they've raised rent to the point that it's very hard for artistic people who, that are coming up, or young artists or young musicians. It's very hard to afford to be here. So, they're going to other places to create their communities and do their music and do their stuff. They're going where they can survive, and it isn't so expensive to live, and they can be creative. So it's really pushed a lot of that out, which is very sad. Yeah. So it's sort of a sad answer.
No, I'd say it's reality, and New York City is the center of the universe, center of our universe as Earthlings, and it's tough to hear, because a creative core element is so important to any community. You could be, a podunk town in Texas where I grew up, or you could be New York City. It's vital, in my opinion. Of course, we're both creative people, but I think most people embrace that and understand that. So hopefully that begins to change, or at least becomes more doable, livable.
Things
in
change
the future for more people.
Things go back and forth.
All the time.
Stuff happens right now because of the COVID situation. Many things have shut down. Yeah. And there's a lot of empty storefronts and stuff. So maybe because of that, maybe stuff starts to sneak back that isn't so expensive. Maybe you start having to say, listen, you can't be charging $1 million a month rent.
People aren't going to pay it. You want to make
people aren't coming back for that. So maybe you start having smaller things, and maybe in its own, after this terrible thing we're dealing with, maybe it creates an opening. I hope so. I hope so.
We're getting back to normal life, as they say, and New York City deserves to have all that you discussed, that vibrance and that diversity and that small business return, because that's a huge part of what makes the community, and certainly NYC.
Yeah.
What is, Roberta, the best advice that you've ever received in your life, and that you took to heart? Maybe not in that moment, but as you spent more time on this planet, you said, that's damn good advice, and I'm making it a part of my life.
Well, I'm somebody that's been in therapy back and forth at different times in my life.
Yep. I am too. It's been a
Oh,
while,
good.
but yeah, I think I know a lot of people can relate.
And I think that in those experiences with therapists of really looking uh, hard at myself and what I was doing, and connecting it also to childhood stuff and, you know, how I grew up and the things that childhood is a challenging time.
For
I think
anybody.
for all
Any
of
kid.
us, you
Yeah.
know, even in a good, happy-ish home,
Yeah.
there's still, you know, there's issues.
Yeah.
So I think I would say that learning through being in therapy, I really learned that to be able to self-examine and to tie things into behaviors that you developed as a kid, you
Yeah.
know, to survive and to feel good. So that you can really, maybe it's like you can throw off some of that as you get older and realize I don't need to think that way. I don't need to react that way also to people in my life, like you're in relationships or friendships or whatever, and you know, you have a way of reacting to they do something, and some of that is like that's not really in the present. It's like that's an old, you know, if something is being triggered, that's really an old knee-jerk thing.
Understood.
And you can
Yeah.
keep doing that and having problems from that. Or if you really do some deeper self-examination, you can actually realize I don't need that defense anymore. I don't need that way of thinking anymore. And then that has been, I'd say, the most important thing for me, you know, going through, living through year after year, that the
Yeah.
more I do that, the freer I am and the more I'm able to be my own person. And that's a very good feeling.
It's a tremendous feeling. And basically you're describing you determine how you feel. People,
Yeah.
situations will get you down. And you know, we live in a politically correct world and everybody has to be celebrated. And if your feelings are hurt, either get over it or don't. It's my decision. It's your decision, and you move on. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
things happen in your life that may be traumatic.
Yeah.
But and it's easy to say, but a lot of things that happen in our life we look at as traumatic. They're really not. But we let it, as my dad would say, take us out of the ball game. Take our
Yeah.
take our eye off the ball,
Yeah.
and we need to make the decision. Well, I'm just not going to allow that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And self-examination is really, you know, being willing to do that as opposed to just, you know, sitting very entrenched and, you know, this is it, this is how I feel, boom. I mean, we all have to try to look at ourselves. Like, where is this coming from? Because it's usually pretty complex. You know, things are not so simple.
No,
we're
they
we're
rarely are
delicate
in life, huh?
creatures, you know, human beings, and there's all kinds of layers and all kinds of stuff, and
Yeah.
people do all like we were talking earlier, people make mistakes also, and you do the wrong thing, and or you say the wrong thing. You talk about politically correct. I mean, you say the wrong thing. If your heart is in the right place, and you should be able to straighten that out, you know, or if you've hurt somebody's feelings, you should be able to explain it and move on and
Sure.
continue a conversation, continue. We are all human beings and we are on this little planet together.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to be communicating and giving each other a basic kind of respect, and with room for plenty of disagreement, you know,
Absolutely.
but certain kind of respect and a room for understanding that we all are fragile and, you know, we're all a little crazy somehow.
Yes, we are.
I
Life,
think,
huh?
yeah, exactly. A little
Most of us
nutty.
can relate. Yeah, I'm going to say all of us is in the human condition can relate. Okay, final question. And I usually ask this, and I'm extremely interested to hear the answers. 3 people, alive or dead, Roberta, that you would love to share dinner with, if
Share
you had the
dinner with.
opportunity to do so.
Well, let's see. Oh, alive or dead?
Yeah. Anybody who's lived or is alive right now.
Well, let's see. I would like to, one person I love and I think it would be fun is Groucho Marx. I think that would be a really funny, I'm sure I'd be just sitting, but I would love to sit across the table and just enjoy him.
Cool.
I watch some of those old movies, or watch him recently doing the, if you've ever heard him do the song, Show Me a Rose.
No, I'll
That's
find it on
something you should
YouTube.
look it up on YouTube.
Yeah,
Show Me a Rose
I will. Yeah.
with his golf hat on. He is really something crazy. And I think it would just, in person would be pretty interesting. Pretty
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess another person that I would be interested, I guess.
I know it's kind of hard thinking of right off the top, right?
Well, and I think of so many people that are interesting, but then
Hard to
I
narrow
don't
it
know,
down.
would I really want to be sitting and having dinner? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But him for sure. I guess in terms of historical figures, I mean, famous historical figure, I would think of Abraham Lincoln would be
Yep.
an interesting character. I can't imagine people don't mention him. He's such an icon in our history, and
Yes, he is.
so articulate, and just interesting. And of course, I've read more and more about him, so there's complexity with him as well.
Oh, yeah.
Things, and also a man of a particular era and time.
Yeah.
So it just would be something interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know, who else would I particularly want to talk to. I could also say actually that a person that I did know and interview that's also on Jack's Place is Andrea Dworkin, who's coming up now more and more as all kinds of feminist rethinking is happening. I don't know if you're aware of the film of Pratibha Parmar now called My Name is Andrea. That's just come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something to check out.
Okay.
She's a very interesting, she was very controversial, very radical feminist.
Okay.
And I did meet her because I interviewed her, and I have some of that up on Jack's Place.
Oh, good.
And she passed away in 2005.
Okay.
But, and it'd be interesting, to me, it would be interesting to talk to her again now, and what's going on now, and with women's issues and that kind of thing. Because she was very ridiculed for being radical and militant and blah, blah, blah. And she was actually a very, very kind, very humanistic, very sweet person. When I interviewed her, it's like she was very, very vulnerable and very caring, very a humanist. So this picture that but she was very challenging about men and women and their self-definition and the idea of dominance and how we live. She really challenged the status quo, and they went after her like crazy during her lifetime. And it's very interesting because she was, I thought, also a very beautiful writer. So I would carry on the conversation with her and Abraham, and then Marx, Groucho Marx. The three of us, we could have a nice dinner, sushi dinner someplace.
There you go. Quite a substantial group. And I think, people who do things that are considered jarring, weird up. And you gathered this probably when you talked with this woman. She's not just doing this to do it. There's a purpose. This matters, and there's substance behind what she's telling.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Those are the people that I admire. They're not just trying to stir it up to draw attention to themselves or try to be a big deal. No. That's not what it's about.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's very much what I admired about her. One of the things I admired about her was her commitment. She was very committed to a kind of a vision of a better world where there was more equality on every level, in every way. And she was very, very caring about the pain that people suffer and how and why they suffer that, and how and what you can do about that. And she was very, very sincere about it, and really put herself out there and wrote and spoke in front of groups of people. When I interviewed her, one of the questions I said, how I would die, how you have the courage to get up and make this kind of speech in front of this kind of a group that's going to be so intensely no, you're this. And
Anti,
she
yeah.
believed in what she was saying, and she put it out there, and she kept doing that all her life. And now there's a wonderful film about her, and there's a lot of revisiting. There's a great deal of what she says that is, I believe also is very true and very deep and very interesting to think about.
Yeah.
It's not that she has every perfect answer, but these are deep questions about how we structure our world and how we think of ourselves,
Yeah.
and how we make it better, or how we at least think about it enough to try to make it really better in a deeper way.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you, is when people are serious and really serious, even if I very much disagree with them, I respect that serious commitment.
Yeah, and like you said, and we all know this, we're not all going to agree, especially as Americans, because we're so fiercely independent. We're not always going to agree. We can display common respect for each other. We can be inherently decent with each other, even if we disagree vehemently.
Absolutely.
We can't. Again, it's a choice. We
Oh,
can't
it very much is.
things.
And I think a lot of the
not to,
the stirring up of all of this, where Americans right now politically, it's like everybody wants to rip each other's faces off.
I don't.
I don't either. No, I don't either.
I don't either. Agree with you, but we want to move forward together.
Absolutely, I totally.
As fellow free Americans, I believe me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very destructive to, and it feeds, it serves a certain purpose. Maybe it's a news show and it makes it more, it's like watching a fight, or like rubbernecking, you're watching an accident. So we can't help, we're looking at this thing, this fighting, this screaming, but it's just really pointless. And it's very, very sad. No, I agree with you. I'm always trying to engage in conversations with people, and particularly people where it's like, I don't agree with what they think or what they seem to be saying, but I want to engage in that conversation, because there's things for me to learn from someone else and their point of view, where they're coming from. And if I'm ever going to try to convince someone else of what I think, I have to engage with them, and I have to engage in a respectful way. I mean, I can't just say, listen, you're an idiot. What
have you accomplished? This is where I'm at and have been my whole life, really, but certainly as an adult. You don't have to celebrate or embrace or endorse anybody. You cannot hate, you cannot harm, you cannot advocate harm. It all boils down to this, and we got right-wing wackos, we got left-wing nut jobs. We understand that. Most of us, by us, I mean fellow free Americans, are not that, Roberta. And we all we really want is govern and lead with common sense.
Yeah.
Live and let live, and peaceful coexistence. Be who you are. You're not hurting me. I'm not hurting you.
Right.
That's it.
That's right.
It's
and
so simple, but we make it so complicated, right?
And if there are elements that are feeding the conflict in a way to get you to be fighting with other people, that somehow it works, that helps them. And that's something we all have to work to resist, and to say, you know what, I'm turning that show off. I'm done. I don't need to be you telling me to hate these
on any network.
On any network, on any talking like that. It's like that. I don't need you to tell me that. I want to engage. When you talked earlier about New York City, I mean, one of the things that's very wonderful about New York, and remains so, is the diversity here. This is a very diverse city, and apparently for hundreds of years has been. It supports, it's important. So you've got people from everywhere in the world. You ride a subway.
The most remarkable city in history of our civilization, Roberta. It just is.
Yeah, and you see every color of person, every size, every shape, just everything, and very people who are out there and flamboyant about what they're doing, and then other people. I mean, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating city. Yeah. And then all the different neighborhoods that are, these are sort of a Vietnamese neighborhood, so there's restaurants there, and there's that stuff. There's a little Italy, and then there's this area and that area. So those cultures are actually thriving. It's not just that they're here and they all become, like a certain kind of American blend. There's the special, the heritage that's still there. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things in New York that's was always really exciting and
Yeah.
wonderful, you know, that you go to these different places. And
Yeah.
now this, the whole streets has a different smell, and it's different stuff in the stores, and it's different foods, and you know, it's just, it's wonderful. I love that. I mean, it's like the diversity on the planet is something very wonderful and exciting.
Well, and it's not going away, and it
Oh,
is
of course.
essential to
Yeah,
us as a species. It just period.
yeah,
Whether I say so or you say so or not, it is
yeah,
inherently.
yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Wow, Roberta, this has been it's been a blast.
Good.
Thank you for coming back and joining us for the after show with conversation with the Quick Flick Critic. It's fascinating to talk with you.
Oh, it's great talking to you. Now I'm going to be thinking about that dinner with Abraham and Groucho and Andrew. What in the world are they talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks again, Roberta. This is
Thank you,
really,
John.
it's been a pleasure for me. This has been the after show for Conversations with the Quick Flick Critic. I'm your host. My name is John Smithstad. We've been talking with filmmaker Roberta Pyzel. Thanks for joining us. Hey, as always, I wish you nothing but good things. And it's a catchphrase, but as I always say, I mean this from my soul. Listen. When I talk about listening to each other, learn. You can still learn, and laugh. Because if you don't laugh, well, I tell you, folks, what is the point of being around, right? Laugh as much as you can. It's a good thing. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the after show of Conversations with the Quick Flick Critic. I'm John Smithstad. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.